Hi, I'm Kevin Wagner. Join TJ's TTalks. Find out how I, as an economics major, went from tourism to technology. Exciting times ahead.
Welcome to TTalks, where we dive into the stories behind the leaders shaping our world. I'm your host, TJ Walia. In this episode of TTalks, we're excited to welcome Kevin Wagner. With a rich career behind him, Kevin has made his mark through innovative strategies and visionary leadership, particularly in the tech industry. Though currently retired, Kevin has led several groundbreaking projects and is known for his ability to merge technical expertise with business acumen to drive successful outcomes. His passion for mentorship and his strategic insights into technology trends make him a transformative figure in his field. Kevin, welcome to TTalks.
Thank you, TJ. I appreciate the opportunity to talk today.
Yeah, no, I've been looking forward to this conversation, Kevin. We've known each other for several years now, and I know some of the fascinating things you've gone through and you've done. But especially going from a non-tech industry to the tech world, I think our guests would love to understand how that journey went, how you ended up at companies like HP, Microsoft, and Deloitte, and what that all transpired. If you could share some of that background, that journey, that progress, I'd love to learn.
I'd be happy to, because it's definitely a unique journey. But I imagine there's people out there that are kind of going through the same thing. So it's times of change right now. So we'll probably see lots of this in the future.
Yeah, very cool. So what does that look like? What is that journey from where you were, and I won't say what industry you were in, I'll let you kind of reveal that, to getting into the tech space? Can you share that path and that journey and those decisions that went along the way?
Certainly. But way back when I was a little young guy, I started out in the tourism industry, if you can believe. A lot of people don't know that because I've been known as a technology person. So I started out with some in marketing for tourism, and then I went to a rather senior role, like a manager of Tourism Saskatchewan, where I managed the call center and the information distribution. So, I mean, you can tell how long ago that is, because we're talking about printed materials going out in the mail compared to online presence and that. So,
you mean this wasn't 5 years ago?
It was not. It was not. So I was a young manager in a government job. I was, I think, about 26 when I had that role. So lots of responsibility. I had a team of 12, and so I managed them. So it was an enjoyable occupation. I enjoyed the part of dealing with people, and I think some of the people I work with in technology understand that that's my calling, is dealing with people. I really enjoy that part of work, no matter where it is. So I had one of those crisis moments, if you want to call it, where I enjoyed the job, but we had a point where the organization went from a government organization to a private organization, which didn't make sense, because the government organization, tourism is a 100% cost center for a government agency. Back then, there was no income coming in or anything like that. And they moved it to a private, profit-oriented organization, which was a complete shift in mentality for a lot of the government workers that were moved with this organization. So it was a trying time for not just me, but for everybody. And when we had a CEO that came in, and he came in from private sector, and he was oriented around profit making, which makes sense. In my youth, I don't think I was took that too seriously, or it was just a mistake of my own. I mean, I thought tourism is tourism. We're here for the people. We're here to bring people to our province, and so on. So let's just say we had a parting of ways, and I was left with okay, my love's been tourism. What do I do? I won an award for the best managed call center in Western Canada, which that brought me to the call centers. And I had people wanting to take me on in the call center industry, because call centers back then, where governments were bidding to bring them in, it was a big business. So when I had the opportunity to look at my future, I said, I looked at the call center seriously, and I said, yeah, you know what, that's a repetitious job, and you're not really, it's taking away from dealing with people. You're more dealing with numbers, stats, data, which I liked, but that can get boring after a while. So I said, you know what, I'm going to push that off. The local tourism industry, there's a lot of people I worked with that we got along great, and I had opportunities there as well into the local tourism area. So did I want to do that? It stepped me, I'm not going to say stepped me down, but it brought me into a local market rather than a nationwide market. And I said, you know, that's not really where I want to be, because I live in Regina. I love the city. I know there's a lot of people that don't say that, but it's a great place to raise children, family, and so on. So I wanted to stay in Regina, and if I wanted to go to the local tourism route, I would go local, and then if I wanted something more, I'd have to move away, and I didn't want that. So what did I do? I took a look at, evaluated my likes, dislikes, sort of like making that list of, what do I like, what don't I like? And I found that my list was all around technology. I enjoyed the data from the call center, like how do I make it more efficient? I enjoyed making efficiencies. There was one of the big things I did there was we had a mailing system, and I took $1 million off the budget, in a $4 million budget. So it was substantial. And so I enjoyed finding efficiencies. And I said, well, I think I have to go into IT. This is in the days of Windows NT coming out. And so I took it upon myself. And I always say, keep learning to all the young people out there is you are going to have to learn new things. There's no question about that. You can't just learn one thing and stick with it. And that's the mantra. Back then, nobody did that. And I knew that I would be learning as I go along in the career. So to make a long story short, I started preparing for my MCSE and started getting that rolling and doing the tests for that. And I just so happened to, through my connections, and young people, keep your connections, they'll always help you out. I met up with a lady from EDS. Well, back then it wasn't EDS, but eventually became EDS. And she said, we're looking at setting up a help desk, which isn't the same as a call center, but because it's more incoming than outgoing. And it's going to be on technology. And I said, you know what? I think that's going to be a good step for me. And so I interviewed, got hired, and promptly they lost the proposition for that, or the proposal, and there was going to be no help desk. So I'm brand new into a technology company with no technology skills or anything like that. So I started from the bottom, help desk, and I would say it was like a hockey stick. I made sure that I applied myself. I always was learning. I always tried to group with smart people to figure out what they're thinking, how they're thinking, and use that to help me to grow. And I really excelled from help desk right up to solutions architect at the end. It was that was over 12 years, so it was a nice steady rise. And I found that I liked every year or two changing customers or roles or something like that. That was really, really promoted growth in myself by just stepping through progressions and making sure that I could learn new things.
Yeah, very cool. There's a lot to unpack there, Kevin. I mean, there's a lot of things that you said and things that you didn't say. Like I want to touch on a few things. The first one, I think I want to touch on really is that moment that you had that, I guess, falling apart, or you left the tourism side of the business. That doesn't happen without other things happening behind the scenes. So there's conversations that happen. And in those conversations, there are things that are said, that things shouldn't be said, et cetera. And that's, a whole area to unpack. But one of the things I've found personally is I've been open and vocal in sharing how I feel, whether it's about the team, the culture, the organization, on how best to improve an organization. Whether I was at Microsoft in our team meetings, I would have those conversations. Sometimes they don't go as planned. Sometimes they don't go as what you wish for, because the receiving party doesn't necessarily see your feedback as I would say value add, but they sometimes see it as a threat, right?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? I mean, anything from that perspective? Because for me personally, those moments helped define who I was even more, because it really showed me that, you know what, I'm on the right track, even though the others are not seeing it. And it anchored, and you get a lot of insight about the other individuals in terms of what role are they really playing? Is it for themselves or is it for the organization? Any thoughts there?
Well, I'll give you the exact moment of when that happened. It's interesting because I've always been one to. I think there's ways to improve. We talk about it. If there's ways to do something, you talk about it. The gentleman in question was not one that wanted to talk about things. It was more of a dictate from high and so on. So. When I was called into a meeting, all the managers and directors called into a meeting, and he mentioned, you know what, I want to get in business with my brother-in-law and do online gambling through Tourism Saskatchewan. And of course, I'm first in line. He comes and says, "What do you think of that idea?" And I said, the obvious thing, I learned now that I have to start understanding personalities. That was the point where personalities are important, because what I said was not what he wanted to hear. I said, nothing to do with tourism. Sure, we can make money, but we also have a conflict issue here. So the ethics, I started understanding what my ethics were back then. And I could just see him visibly, and next person. And I'm going, oh no. And then, of course, the other managers, directors behind me said, we should take a look at that. We should, something we should consider. And that taught me a way of, how do you position yourself so that you're not putting yourself out there, but being able to talk about it later, understanding how to work with an individual. They knew how to deal with them. I didn't. And that was my mistake.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a valuable lesson on strategic thinking or speaking your mind, because a lot of people say, you should speak your mind, and it really depends on how you deliver that message, and that's a big lesson there, right? And I know you talk about personalities. I want to touch on that a little later on in terms of personality types. The other aspect, through that journey that you were talking about, you mentioned a few things about, your family aspect, right? Regina is a great place to raise a family. So that shows that, that's an important factor for you, and having that flexibility and freedom. And I know tech gave you a lot of that as well. There was the data aspect, that you actually enjoyed the data from the call center information that you were gathering and making analytical decisions. You then went and made a decision to go from tourism and say, okay, what's the next battle I'm going to go into, or from the call center side and say, okay, what's the next thing I'm going to be jumping into? Tech was fairly new at the time. So you actually went down and decided to put all of these things on paper and say, okay, what am I good at? What am I liking? Where's the industry headed? Walk us through that, because I think that's invaluable. A lot of people are not doing this today. They've never done it for several years. And that's a very unique skill to have, to really recognize yourself, your own strengths and abilities, and then to really put it down on paper and recognize where the trend is, where the market's going, and then combine that together. And that's exactly what got you the trajectory that you needed to be in the right space. And people say right place and right time. I don't think, there are times that does happen. That's not always the case. There's some planning that goes into it, and you have to be prepared for those opportunities, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I can't take all the credit myself. I had a wonderful wife that, we were at that point, we had a baby, like we were just starting our family. And she said, well, this is the time to do what you want to do. And so we went through and we took a look at, what, like I said before, like, what do you like doing? What are those things that you can lose your time doing. And that's how I look at it is you're doing something, you're not realizing it's work, you're enjoying it, you're excelling at it. I mean, you can lose your time playing video games. That's not productive. You know what I mean? It's you have to earn a living. So I took a hard look at that. And it wasn't because part of my job in tourism, I had all aspects of, people, technology. The IT guy was, we were really good friends. And he let me, this is back when 486s were there. So he let me help me out with, he let me help him take computers apart, understand what's wrong in the network, and just work my skill set that way. And if he wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't have realized what technology was at that field. So it was, again, my growth, being willing to do all different kinds of things. So understand what I like, what I don't like, test the waters, do whatever.
Yeah, that's...
Okay.
Yeah, no, go ahead, please.
I wanted to, I know we talk about work experience, and I wanted to jump back in time because I think there's another time that I haven't told you about this. And it's actually, I sit back and I laugh because it's just such a ironic time of my life. So out of high school, I went to university, U of R, got an economics major. I got a certificate in local government administration because I thought I was going to, run a town, town books and all that kind of stuff, be the town administrator. But I also took okay, you got a question.
I do. So hang on. I want to dig a little deeper. Economics major, tech. Yeah. Where's the connection?
Oh, wait, there's more. There's no connection. Well, actually,
love it.
Back then, there was no connection, but I found that I was starting to see towards the tail end of my career that there was a lot of people with business or economics degrees, and now they're looking for MBAs in technology. So the relation was good. I was I'm not going to say I was forefront of the people, the move, but I think it helped me. It helps you understand business, how things work. But I also got my Canadian Security Certificate, which was the first step to becoming a stockbroker. That was my dream. That's why I did all this to that point. So I go, Calgary has I don't even know if they still do anymore, but they had a stock exchange back then. I went there, set up a whole bunch of interviews, and I was staying at my brother's for a couple of weeks just so I can get through the interview process. And I remember getting ready to go for my interviews on Monday, Tuesday, and all of a sudden started getting a bunch of phone calls. And I'm going, what the heck? People are canceling my interviews. And I'm going, this is the time when there's no news. That was Black Monday. Worst stock market crash since the dirty 30s. So my career ambitions gone right there and then, because there's going to be thousands of people with that experience in the marketplace. People were jumping up buildings, kind of thing. So it was. So I did that reevaluation again. I had some summer jobs where I was working with people, and I said that's what I enjoy doing. So then I pursued I wanted to tie in the economic side, so I pursued marketing opportunities, and that's where I got into Tourism Regina. Moved up the marketing ranks there.
Wow. Quite interesting. I mean, I was talking about the economics linked to tech. And of course, we know that the link is there because the tech organizations are running the business units, et cetera. Mm-hmm. But usually someone who does an economics major doesn't look at tech as the place they want to be in. It's more, they go down the tech path with complemented courses in, economics or business. So This was kind of the opposite from that perspective, which I found very fascinating. And then for you to take that skill set and then apply it in this world here. Again, I've got a lot of thoughts going through my head right now, but two things. One, your opportunity as a stockbroker, like, how do you feel about that? Because sometimes we hang on to that ambition or something we want to be. You're retired today. Mm-hmm. And does that bother you in any way, shape, or form and say, you know what, I wanted to do this. This was my dream. I didn't get that chance because of that one event that occurred at the time. Or were there other pivots or ways that you kind of offset that ambition, went through a different path and kind of fulfilled some of those requirements there for yourself. But what did that look like, Kevin?
Well, it was because I was succeeding at what I was doing and I was enjoying what I was doing. I don't look back at that time, other than it was an opportunity to get where I am. So would I have loved being a stockbroker? Well, now that I look at my high blood pressure and all that, I think, no, probably that would have been the worst thing for me. So it might have been the universe's way of saying, no, you probably don't need this. So I don't look back at it in regret. I enjoyed what I did and what I'm doing. So
I love that. Not having regrets. A lot of us live in our past. I remember reading, not even reading, it was a story that someone shared, and they were talking about. It's almost like comparing yourself to driving a vehicle. You've got the big windshield in front of you, and then you've got the rear view mirror, and the rear view mirror is usually this small, right? It's designed just so you can take a glimpse, remember something, see what's behind you, but not focus there. Your focus is supposed to be right ahead. So I love how you looked at that as the opportunity, embraced it, and then built your career out of all of that, and a very successful career from that perspective.
Oh, thanks.
The area that you touched on a couple times, Kevin, in there was networking, connections. You talked about meeting people, and they gave you an opportunity, even in the IT, to do things. Talk to us about that a little bit, because with this age of everything being digital, I find having gone through, I've been called a super connector at times from some of my friends because I do know a lot of people that I meet with, but I try to keep genuine relationships with them as well. And given the digital age we're in now, everything's on Instagram and everything's a message. What are your thoughts for this generation that's coming through and coming out of all of this on the importance of networking and how to establish and build strong relationships?
Well, I'm a firm believer of that. Networking is absolutely essential to progress yourself. Never mind that, but progress your career as well. So it's but you have to do it in how can I say a proper way. Yeah, I guess that's the way to do it. You can't. Like, I know people that say, I've got 10,000 followers, I've got 10,000 connections, I got whatever. What does that mean? That just means that you have 10,000 people that you don't know, because that's too many to know your relationships. So one thing that one of the last positions I had, there was this elderly fellow. We got along absolutely great. We did a contract where I was brought in to fix a very large project, and he was sort of the sales guy, and we worked well together. I was to go in there, find out what the problems were, and recommend solutions to it, and he would help sell that deal, if you want to call it that, or to pursue it more, to find out what the need is from the company. And one of the things we always talked about, that there's a book, The Trusted Advisor. What does that mean, the trusted advisor? And I always thought I knew I was a trusted advisor to a lot of my clients, but I never understood what that meant until I watched him. He kept his contacts and focus on, minimal 3-4 people. And when I say trusted advisor, he would go for lunch weekly with this gentleman. He would, him and his wife would go out and have drinks with him and his family. Whenever there was a problem at work, this CIO would call him and talk to him about what the problem is. And that's what a trusted advisor is have that person think of you first when they have a problem and they want to deal with that. So
I love that.
Yeah, it was just mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, and I think the word trusted advisor gets thrown around so loosely, but I've never heard of it in an example the way you have, especially in the roles that we had at Microsoft. Any division you would talk to, I would define myself when I was a technical account manager. Oh, I'm the trusted advisor on this account. And then someone else would come along and they did a whole different role. Oh, I'm the trusted advisor on this account. It's like, wait,
yeah, exactly.
How can there be multiple trusted advisors in a particular account when we're not being called for all the emergencies or situations that are happening within that customer space? But what you define there is really that true trusted advisor, someone who's there for them through all the thick and thin. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a caveat to that. I know that people say, try to build out your connections and get as many as you can. You have to have the right connections. It does no good if you're dealing with the guy on the floor that has no. I mean, he's a great guy, and you can get some information from him, but he can't make decisions or can't influence decisions. People that can influence decisions is the person that you should be dealing with on a regular basis. I mean, don't kill your other not kill, sorry, bad word, but don't push aside your other contacts. You still need those because people progress and they could get into a position where they have influence.
Very, very sound advice there. Always respect the people you're working with, connect with them, but know where to invest your time because you've got a finite amount of it, right? So you need to really be strategic of where that time is going and the relationships you're building, but for the right reasons. Not to be manipulative, of course, not to be, hey, listen, let me go connect with that person and just be plugged into them because this is what's going to benefit me.
Right.
That's not the idea. The idea is let's build that relationship that it benefits both businesses mutually if that's a business or professional relationship from that perspective. So no, love that.
Exactly.
Kevin. I want to touch on personalities. You talked about that earlier, and I said I'm going to park that for a little bit, and I want to come back to that. Personalities. You mentioned that, and we talked about networking. We talked about identifying people. Say that again.
It's fascinating. Personalities. It's just so interesting.
So tell me more about that. What is fascinating about it? What do you mean when you say personalities? I know what you're thinking because we've had this conversation before. Give our viewers a glimpse of what you're talking about.
Well, we always joke, we took that personality test at Microsoft, and one of the key things that I came out of it is understanding a person's personality can generate good, and it also can generate evil. Once you understand what the person's personality is, you understand how to, I hate using the word manipulate, but that's really what it is. How you can drive the person crazy. All these things are available to you if you understand what their personality is. Nobody's one set personality, but you have a good starting point to understand what makes them tick. And I'll talk about the good side. I mean, if you understand what makes a person, what would make a person consider what you're talking about, you start to influence how you talk to that person. So you would say something different than you would to another person. And that's where I think both of us have had success. I know in Microsoft, my clients, I know how to talk to them and what they wanted to hear as well. And I'm not talking lip service, but honest, what they needed to hear and what they, had to hear. And I think that's actually a large part of how we've achieved our success in the organizations that we've been in.
Yeah, it's quite critical. And I love how you said it's not to manipulate, but it teaches you how to communicate and connect with the other person so that you can get your point across. Because there are times that you're not going to be able to penetrate, or get that time to speak to them because if you can't get their attention. So you have to understand how to speak their language. And that's what I took away from it as well is how do you change the way you're sending out a message to a certain individual so it resonates with them, so it connects with them.
And I want to strongly, go ahead. I'm sorry, TJ, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to strongly state that if you're manipulating someone, you've chosen the path of evil because in the end, they're not going to appreciate that. You're going to lose your trusted status and so on. So it's helping them see what they need to see.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what I was getting at, right? Because as human nature, we're going to do both sides. We typically say, oh, I can do this. I've got this power. And this is where I think the quote from Spider-Man comes in. With great powers comes great responsibility, right? So it's just that. And I remember when we actually were taught these skills, we actually used it for testing purposes within organizations and facilities. And the results were remarkable. They were live. They were instant. Anything you want to touch on that, Kevin?
I don't know where I can go on that. Are you referencing what you did to me after? No.
It could be that. It could be the restaurant incidents that we explored with the team. I mean, and I'll talk about this a little bit as well. The team went out for lunch after was it lunch or dinner? I think it was dinner that evening, or after the training, and having the ability to understand how someone operates and what they gravitate towards, or type of conversation they gravitate towards, and attention versus what they don't. Some of the folks in that at that meeting, or at that dinner, decided to do the opposite. So someone who really is about connection and building connection with people, turning your back to them, right, when they're talking, very disrespectful. But you could see how it would just be pushing their buttons instantly. And even seeing restaurant staff react in very rough ways, if you will, just from that, you can actually just see it. And they're containing themselves because they know they're in a professional environment and they have a job to keep, but you can see that. But it was quite fascinating to see how easy it was when you do that. But on the flip side, I think what I wanted to really touch on is building that connection, Kevin. Like, you can have that ability. And I do this too this day. My wife and my kids joke about this because it's become a part of me, is really helping and trying to connect with someone. And every time I go to a restaurant, my family's like, we always get good service. It's because you're connecting with that person at that level. And I absolutely love helping them feel good about themselves, because they deal with a lot of chaos on day in, day out. So I love doing that. They come back to our table and they want to have the conversation because that's where they feel welcomed and invited. So it becomes a strength from that perspective. Sorry, Ken, go ahead.
You are the anti-Karen. That's the exact opposite of what, some people think, that the louder they are, I want to see your manager, the more they are, the less service they're going to get, the less respect they're going to get, and the less value they're going to hold in the eyes of people.
Absolutely. No, very cool.
Just as an aside again, I remember after that course, and I'm going to tell everybody this because we laugh about this all the time. So we take this course, we discover what each other's personality is, and people may not believe this, but mine was more around organization, analysis, all that kind of stuff, and yours was more of the people. I love people, and I want to do well, everything like that. So I remember we're in the States, we room together, we get change on when we go out and have something, and I used to stack the change up. And for the viewers in the audience, I mean, that's might be everybody does that, I don't know, but I do that just because you want to know what's there. And TJ comes over and he just slowly knocks it over, and he knew that would, it's just a test. It was just, what's Kevin going to do? And I knew that he was testing me. So I said, oh, TJ, I was really wanting to stack, and I was playing against his emotions. So he played against mine, I played against his, and we just had a hoot afterwards. So
it was a blast. And the best part of it was, Kevin, that I was looking at you while watching and doing, knocking the coins over. And I can see you burning inside, but trying to contain it at the same time. That was the best part about it. And it's fascinating how much you can actually do with that. And I think what's more important is when you're not aware of such things, the impact you can have on people without knowing. And this is where I think the value of this type of training, or this type of understanding, is that you actually tend to care for others even when they're not expecting it, they're not seeing it, because you're now being mindful of how it can actually impact someone else's lives, right? Yeah. So even in little things as responses to email, even till this day, when I look at an email and I'm about to respond, even though I can give the answer in one quick line, depending on who I'm answering to, I make sure I take the time and effort to explain things out if that's what the person needs, versus someone who needs that one line, I give them that one line. So being deliberate and adapting myself to that communication style has been a huge impact in having successful engagements and representation organizations.
Yeah, and I do want to talk about how personalities can affect people at work. Throughout my career, I've come across a couple people where they're exceedingly smart, and I'm talking, top tier smart, and they have the ego to go with it. And I know that there's a few that nobody ever wanted to work with because of that. And I took that challenge on, and make a long story short, we excelled together. Like, obviously, he was number one, he or she, sorry, and I was number two. But when you have you have to understand what your skill set is and what their skill set is. And when you pair it together, that person was smart at vision, smart at understanding what links together, all those kind of things, but didn't have I'm not going to say mental capacity, probably could do it, but the willingness to do all of the substructure stuff that needed to be done. And that's where I came in. Just by going by my personality, stacking the coins, I like to put those things in order and all that kind of stuff. Exceptional relationship. We did so well. There's so many things we could do because of that. It doubled our output for each of us, I'd say.
That's so powerful, Kevin, what you say there, because that's something I've experienced through my career as well, where we've had opportunities or moments you have an individual someone's not getting along with, and instead of butting heads, I tend to adapt myself and say, let me see how I can accommodate this individual. And I've had individuals come up to me, or management leadership, TJ, this person needs to go. This is our worst performing person, or we can't work with this individual. I've been able to be the barrier in between and say, you're not going to communicate with them and they're not going to communicate with you. You're going to go through me. And through that channel, I've been able to get the best of both sides rather than having two incompatible personalities. It's I'll be the middle person that's going to navigate all of this conversation, navigate the results through, and be able to get a really good output, saving both sides, right? So that's a skill that you must have in today's world. I would say more than anything else is how to communicate effectively with people, how to get connected with them. So I know we came here from a networking side of things, but within networking, and like you said, having 10,000 followers doesn't mean you have 10,000 proper connections, right? Mm-hmm. It's really about having that solid connection with a few of them that you're going to have, and those bets that you take, but really also understanding how to work with people and working with people really well so that they can respect you as a leader and you can respect them as a leader because they're a leader in their domain as well. Awesome. Kevin, it's the time for our wonderful rapid fire question segment. Are you ready for this?
I don't know. I'll sure. Yes. Let's go.
All right. So the rules are simple. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions and you're going to respond with whatever the first thing that comes to mind.
Whatever person?
Whatever first thing that comes to mind. Whatever first item that comes to mind. Yeah.
Yep.
Ready to go?
You bet.
Okay. Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Okay. The last book you read that impacted your thinking?
Well, that is a hard one, but I'd have to go with Challenger Sale. I'm going to go workbook. Challenger Sale, exceptional book. It teaches you it deals with personalities, teaches you how to handle people, and teaches you how to overcome objections is the main thing because I know that I've always, so this isn't quick, but I've always, whenever you approach someone to try to sell them something, there's always objections. And this book teaches you how to deal with that. You're not going to be successful all the time, but it helps you further your success.
Love it. One tech gadget you can't live without.
I'm stuck on that phone, but that's probably not the answer you want. That's this is a hard one, TJ. Yeah, it's my phone. I mean, that seems to be that life tie, and it shouldn't be, but it definitely helps. And that's a very lame answer, but I can't think of anything else right now.
No, that's fine. And so I'll dig deeper on the phone aspect of it. The one app that you can't live without.
Well, sadly, TJ, you're dating myself, and it seems to be Facebook is the main one, which is just a waste of time. But I hate that. But I'm finding that I'm also drifting towards news. I enjoy getting news that you can't get, in Canada all the time. So just expounding my knowledge, getting news from around the world and all that kind of stuff. Plus, just today, this morning, I also have friends that are going over to Europe and they wanted to get an eSIM card. So I was going through that app, the eSIM app that you told me about, and telling them about it, and they got it. So it's awesome. It's about exploring different things.
That's it. That's the whole idea of all the platforms that we have. We have a world of different apps and resources that we can tap into, and that's the beauty of that device, and that's why you're locked into that one device. Because without that, you lose a whole ecosystem essentially.
Yeah, I like finding out what people are doing.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And that's why Facebook comes in as well. So given that you're retired, favorite hobby?
Oh, well, don't look in the background. No. My favorite hobby is, I'm gonna go back again, TJ. When I was started out my career, I did a lot of volunteering at the start. But as I found that I was getting into more senior roles as I was growing up in life, that was always taking a back burner. So now, when I retired, I know I wanted to talk to you about this. Is as soon as I said I wanted to retire, I had all these people say, Kevin, I just heard about this guy that retired and died 2 weeks later. Kevin, I heard about this guy died within, a bunch of people died within 6 months to a year. And I'm going, holy crow, what am I just going to pass out here and see you guys and all that? And it was one common thing I think with all these people was they were dedicated to their job, and that was their life. And when you take that away in such a scary manner, like all of a sudden you're doing it and then you're not. Like, when you're thinking about it, what is your self-worth? What are you defined by? And honestly, I think a lot of people were defined by their roles. So hearing all that, I was in there, well, how am I I don't want to be a statistic. I was thinking about, sort of the mind, body, soul, mind. I want to keep my mind active. And I do that, and this gets to my extra hobby, curricular activities, whatever you want to call them. I coach a team at the University of Regina, the business school, every September to January. I'm doing it for 2 years now. Absolutely love it. Some brilliant, young, smart kids working there. So that's fun to me. It's not work or anything. So keeps my mind active because these kids are smart and they test you, which is good. Body, I'm not in the best of shape, but I said, you know what? Every day I want to do, a certain number of steps or move, walk, run, whatever, for a certain amount, just to keep that the body. In my case, I got more work to do, but I wanted to, and I've kept to that. I want to do 10,000 steps a day, and I do that, and that's a minimum. That's the minimum marker for me. And soul, it's helping other people. So I'm on the board of directors for a women's shelter, and I get a lot of value for that. It's really good. And there's other volunteer things I do. So that's what's keeping me going, and that's my hobby. I enjoy that.
Love that. Early bird or night owl?
Oh, night owl. I always have been. I never been. My brother, he's get up at 5 a.m., 4 a.m. and go do work or do whatever. I'm whatever. I stay up till 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. That's
wow. Yeah.
I always have, never changed.
No, that's interesting. And well, I mean, when we used to be on trips, you'd fall asleep quite fast. Maybe it's a sign that I was maybe the boring one in the room. I don't know now.
He's just talk. No, I'm just kidding.
So the next one is for my international audience. Does Regina have igloos?
Oh, thanks. we only have igloos if we make them. There is no igloos.
All right.
You got far enough north?
No, far enough north. Absolutely. So you guys have normal electricity. You guys have normal, houses. Yes, of course.
That's right. We even have a Costco.
You even have a Costco. That's it. If I were to give you a handful of coins, would you lay them flat or would you stack them on a table?
Stacking's the only way to go.
That'd be the only way to go. And my last question, Kevin, if animals could talk, which would you want to have a conversation with, not including your pet?
You know what? I think I'd like to talk to like an eagle or a falcon or something like that. Just because you imagine what they're seeing from above and all that kind of stuff. So just that would be fascinating to me.
Quite fascinating, quite fascinating. Kevin, thank you very much for being here. I absolutely enjoyed our conversation. It was really wonderful to catch up again. So thank you again.
Same here, TJ. I really enjoyed it. Hope it helps out. So hopefully some people can get some information from it.
Thank you again, Kevin, for sharing your valuable insights and experiences with us today. It's been a true pleasure. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to TTalks for more conversations with the leaders who are shaping our future. Until next time, keep on inspiring.